Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Small Town Music with just me. Laura is at home now, and everyone is doing very well. Everything went great with all the medical stuff that's going on. So, good vibes, good thoughts, prayers out to them. Um, so, today we are talking about the first 5 minutes of class and what you do in those 5 minutes to set yourself up for success. I know that can be a difficult time, especially for me personally. It's the period after my prep because I've been able to sit down and maybe relax a little bit or just sit down and kind of do something different with my brain. And then getting back into teaching class mode can be difficult and can be just a little tricky sometimes. And so I want to specifically discuss what I do in those first few minutes to kind of set up class to be successful. I feel like that is a really crucial time when kids are just walking into the room and they are starting class. It kind of sets the tone for how the class is going to be. If I'm having an off day potentially and I am not present, if I'm like sitting in my office doing some work, kind of ignoring kids' requests for a minute to try to like finish up my last document or email or whatever I'm doing, that can just kind of send a message that it's going to be a lazy day or not. Kids don't have to be as on top of it as maybe a different day in class. So, all right, kind of jumping right in here, establishing your routine and kind of setting the tone for class, as I had just kind of talked about. I personally like to give announcements. Well, I will first kind of take attendance, especially as kids are walking in. And with band class, kids have to get their instruments out, so it takes a minute. So that's the kind of time where I may be answering some emails or, kids are coming up and asking questions, looking for music, looking for reads, looking for, whatever, and so that's a really good time to kind of stand up my computer at the front of my room and to start, like, get all the administrative stuff out of the way. Once everyone is seated, I try to give them 2 minutes. Sometimes it's three, just depends on the day. But once they're seated and kind of ready to go, then I will jump in and I like to give announcements and kind of remind students of what the events are for the week and the next week and how close we are to a concert, if there's something that they need to bring in money for, if we have a field trip, any kind of those things. I don't always do a great job of this, but I do my best to keep some kind of list, especially if there's just a lot going on. Right now is a really busy season for us we have solo and ensemble events, we have basketball games constantly, and the schedule changes, especially with the weather, and there's just a lot going on. So it's really helpful to have a nice handy little list so that you don't forget things. Anything the office or administrators have asked of you, such as attendance, or if there's, I can't think of a great example. I know like we implemented a new rule about missing assignments. So that's a good time to remind students, like, hey, get your work done or you're getting, XYZ punishment. If there's just like something weird going on in class, like you just want to make an announcement, or I don't like weather stuff. If they're like, hey, they're predicting some crazy storms, like we got an email, take your Chromebooks home, all that stuff. That's a really good time at the beginning because I feel like that's when everyone's fresh and kind of listening and ready to go. So this is a good time to grab everybody's attention. And that this is specifically for my middle school, high school band classes that I kind of try to do this routine of take attendance, answer emails, get announcements in the first 5 minutes or so. For the elementary classes, I don't usually have a lot of announcements. Sometimes, depending on the grade I teach, sometimes we talk about if there's an upcoming performance. Sometimes I'll talk about, any events that might impact them. If they're like, hey, we got a choir concert coming up, or oh, auditions are coming up for Joyful Noise Choir, or, whatever. Or, whatever might be coming down the pike. You owe $5 for recorders, bring the recorder money in, or, something like that. With the elementary, I do like to give them a heads up on stuff. But that is my favorite time to do our warm ups. I like to do stretching. So kind of get your body ready. And kids always like, this isn't PE, this is music class. Like, yep, you are correct. However, we still use our bodies in music class and we still need to stretch and do some things like that. I do body stretching warm ups. Sometimes I'll have the kids lead, especially in older classes. That also gives me a minute if there's like an email or I have to put something away or there's like a small stack of papers I really want to get put away. And so that's kind of a nice like couple minutes that the kids can lead. Then I'll do like I wouldn't call it breathing exercises, but kind of syllable exercises. So if you're a choir person, you probably know the name better, but like a ch ch ch, like an echo after me, like ch, kind of like miniature beatboxing, but like the echo patterns like ch ch. That I feel like just kind of gets like a breath warm up almost or a breathing kind of thing. And then we do vocal sirens, and then I'll do solfege patterns. Echo after me, and then we do echo rhythms, especially if there's like new rhythms that I want to introduce. That's a really good time. Solfege patterns. Um, I try my best to kind of prepare and know the music that I'm working on. If there's any tricky like solfege patterns coming up, then I try to do it in the warm ups. Or if I know like okay, we really want to learn, you know, low so and low la, so la do. That was not my best singing, but an example. um, so that's when I kind of do those things. In band class, when I do warm ups, which that can be a whole separate episode, I do try to introduce new rhythm patterns. I have seen a lack of rhythm reading in my ensembles. Laura and I have talked about this before that teaching in a small town, we are the only music teachers these kids have experience. So if there's flaws in our teaching, we see them very clearly. So I know that one of my problems is teaching how to read rhythms. I think for me personally, like it comes pretty easy or naturally that I don't have to think too much about like when I look at a rhythm. But that means that I have not taught it extensively or as well as I should have. So anytime that your students you notice that they're like not able to like oh they really don't look at key signatures or they really don't notice time signatures very well. That's the first 5 to 10 minutes of class is a really good time. Okay, so going back to elementary, so we do rhythms. I really like Laura's kind of implemented this hello song. So we do second through fifth grade is the same song. First grade, kindergarten, first grade is a slightly different song. I know when I do preschool, it's also just like a different I don't usually do a hello song, but I do like a roll the ball kind of name game thing. It's harder for me to remember the preschoolers' names because I see them only once a week. I don't see multiple preschool classes. I just see them one day. So and like if we have that day off of school or if we have a delay and I don't see that class for a couple of weeks or whatever, then it can be kind of tricky. So I like to do the ball game. They really like the roll the ball. It's a song that you sing, and it says their name, so that's nice. And that also, again, like setting the tone. It just like kids like routine, whether they know it or not, whether they expect it. They may come back at you with comments like, "Oh, this is boring. We do the same thing every time." Like, yep, yeah, we do. We do the same thing every time because routine is good, and routine lets you know what to expect. I think kids really do like to know what to expect. So yeah, my next bullet point here is routine, routine, routine. Just keep it consistent every day. I try to have, I use Canva like education presentations. So I just have like a slideshow presentation up and it has the name of the class at the top. And for band, I have a section, I like list out the times at each thing. So like, you know, 10:45 announcements, 10:50 warm-ups, 10:55 we're going to start rehearsing Celestial Rise or whatever piece we're working on, um, to give the kids an idea. And they really like because they'll like stop me in the hallway after first period. They're like, what are we doing in band? Like we're playing our instruments, we're doing music like we do every day. But it is nice for them to walk in and see and know like, okay, do I get my instrument out? Is this a day that we're going to do music theory packets? Is this a day? So they want to know what to expect, and that's also helpful for me. Like it keeps me on track a lot too. It helps things run smoothly. It gives you a framework to jump off of. So another great thing that you can use the first 5 minutes of class, after you kind of get housekeeping items, is music theory or other like music reading exercises. So a great time to implement rhythm exercises. You could do like a short sight singing exercise. I know teachers have done that before. You could do a very small like mini theory lesson if you want to talk like, oh hey, here's a new musical term in our music this week that we're going to experience. So let's talk about what that means. It can't, yeah. Um, it helps you keep up with all the current events happening. I know I like repeating, writing down, and also repeating the events multiple times because then I know I'm not going to forget them. If I know that, I've written it on the calendar, I put it in my phone calendar, I have it um, like on a whiteboard. I have it on the board every day. I put it in my newsletter. I say it to the kids every class period so that I know like I'm not going to forget something. So that it's helpful for me too. Um, I'm looking at my next bullet point here. So we're reminding kids of what is coming up next and how to prepare. Try to be on top of it and ready to go. Like I kind of said that already. But you really set the tone for the students of what to expect. If you're like just sitting there like playing on your phone, not paying attention, not wanting to start class. It's like 5 minutes past the bell ringing and you're still like just not really present, not really there, then the kids aren't really gonna act like they're ready for class either if you're not really ready for class. Yeah, when I am out of sight, chaos absolutely ensues, and I try really hard to just be right up front, ready to go. Make sure you talk to your admins too. Just like, do you need to monitor hallways during passing period? Do you need to, do certain duties at certain times? Do they have something that they need you to implement the first 5 minutes of class? Um, if you feel like your first 5 minutes of class is not great and you just don't know how to get a handle of it, can you maybe have someone cover your class for a little bit and have like you go watch a veteran teacher who has a really good, you feel like they have a really good grasp of their class and see what they do, and then vice versa, have a veteran teacher come watch you and give you some advice on how to get that going. I know that can be really tricky in the middle of the school day to be able to take that time away and to do that, but it can be so absolutely helpful. I know just like the times I get to watch, even watching Laura, like if I walk into her class and see her teaching and doing something, then it gives me a good opportunity to say like, oh yeah, I need to do XYZ in my own teaching. Like yeah, I totally am not doing that, and that's something that would be really good for my students. Okay, what do you do if you have to step out and chaos does ensue? Like life happens, you have to go to the bathroom, you had to make copies, and you got back a little bit later because the copier got jammed, or you got called into the hallway to go talk to someone or whatever. So how do you regain that control? I try to just immediately start jumping into stuff. I try my best not to like yell or scream. I do have a whistle if I need it, and sometimes I do use it, but I've had to use it less and less over the years, which is nice. If kids are really just off the wall and they're not listening, like they're just bouncing off the walls, I will just jump right into a breathing exercise. And I find that a breathing exercise is really good at centering kids and calming kids down. And sometimes I will do, especially with the last class of the day, it's middle school kids, they're like wound up. They've been sitting and staring at Chromebooks all day or worksheets all day. And so they come to your class and it's the fun class and it's the class they get to like express themselves a little bit and they have all their friends in that class. So they're a little crazy sometimes. So jumping into the breathing exercise and even maybe a singing exercise first thing can be really helpful and really useful and just help like center kids and give them the like, nope, we are in class It is time to focus. It's time to regain control. I Yeah, when they're chaotic, talking too much is just going to make it more glazed over. Like they're not going to get any of that information. My main goal for the first 5 minutes of class is just to really get kids in focus. Okay, so that's my first 5 minutes. It's only 5 minutes, like it goes really fast, especially when you're trying to take attendance and 15 kids are asking to go to the bathroom and do all these things, and they need places to go and people to see. So I I think I did this in the last episode. I call it something for you. Just like, mental health awareness. It's wintertime. The days are getting slightly longer, which is nice, but um just remember to like take care of yourself too. So I gotta put in here like decompressing after a hard class. If it's just like if something crazy happened, if a kid like there have been times like I've had to call CPS after a class, and that is a really heavy thing to do sometimes, depending on what you have to report. That you never want to do it, but it is important. Or like a kid made a comment to you that really upset you, and just you took way too personally, um, or just something happened in your personal life that you're like, man, I need a second before I get to this class. If you have teacher friends that can help watch your class for a minute, or like, I know our office staff is just amazing and wonderful. So I think I fortunately have not had to do this currently, but I know that if I call them and say like, hey, I need 5 minutes to like get myself together, then they would be there, and be like, yeah, absolutely, we'll help you. We'll get someone to come watch for a couple minutes. So finding a teacher to just cover your class the kids will be fine. You can say like, hey, go practice, exercise number 32 in your book. I'll be right back. But have someone watch your class because something bad will happen if you leave them unattended. But yeah, go to the bathroom. If you can, like literally step outside, that can be helpful. Getting some fresh air, getting some sunlight. I know my room doesn't have windows, so it can feel like I'm very disconnected from the outside world. Journaling, if that's something that is helpful to you, just kind of like that, like venting it and just getting it off your chest, like getting the information out and getting your feelings out so that you are not just on edge or, emotional or, you know, focusing on the wrong things when your students come into class. That can be helpful if you have 5 minutes, again, a couple minutes even, just to like, or type it out, type a text to your partner or your friend or, a trusted person who you're like, okay, I just got to get this off. I got to get it off my mind. And yeah, talking with a friend if you can, if you have a minute to like step next door and be like, hey, I have to tell you this crazy thing that happened and I need some support. So that can be really helpful, especially if you're going right into your next class, and they need you to focus and kind of be on top of your game. Um, so you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, Podbean, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all the things. So please like, subscribe, follow, comment. Send us an email, smalltownmusicpodcast@gmail.com. On Instagram, small.townmusic. Um, Everywhere else, if you just search Small Town Music, you'll see our beautiful logo that we have here. We have a Patreon, so please, if you want to help us keep this going, we would really greatly appreciate some help with that. We have pretty good audio equipment, but we're always looking to make it better. Um, so if you donate a certain amount, we will send you this beautiful mug with your name on it, and you can join our crew. So I hope to see you guys next week. I hope that you're enjoying these episodes. If you have special requests, let us know. Like, this podcast is for all of you who are listening. I can talk all day long about my job, but you're the ones that we're making this for. So let us know what you want to hear, what information is important to you. If you just want to say hi that you're listening, I also appreciate that. because that's great to know that there are people on the other end listening to us yap about our jobs. So have a great week, and we'll see you next time.